Hello, my name is Tatiana Kalganova. I'm from Brunel University, London. In this series of lectures, we are going to look in the main issues of research. How to do research, what is the research process, what type of techniques you need to do your research. What is unique about this particular course, we will be looking in processes of research and how to do this from philosophical point aspects. We will be bringing philosophical terminology, philosophical meanings into the understanding of research process. Blending philosophical terminology together with practical skills and research of process. This will provide us unique features in terms of generating critical thinking and understanding about your research and what is the best way to complete your research. The aim of our particular lecture is to understand the importance of inquiry in research process, to understand what is research and what terminology is applied. As a result, in the learning outcomes, you will start to understand the terminology of research, some philosophical aspects of research in terms of what is research and terminology used, what is methodology, what is research of method, what is research technique. And based on this terminology, you will learn how to critically evaluate research paper from methodological point of view and develop practical skills. The course is very much suitable for any students who are engaged in carrying out the research projects. It could be undergraduate final year project students. It could be MSc students. It could be PhD students at the beginning of their studies. You could be PhD students in year 1 and 2. If you are PhD students in year 2, you will know how difficult it was to start to do research in this particular area. It might take you very long to find your research question on focus where your research will be about. Where it's coming from? It's coming from our PhD requirements in UK. One of the main importance where PhD degree is awarded for, you need to provide contribution to the science, novelty, and originality. All these three elements in terms of research must be supported by peer-reviewed conference and journal papers. What does it mean? It means any of your research which you have completed within the period of your studies of 3 years, you must be justified, reviewed, and considered by worldwide research community in terms of publications. And you need to know very clearly what is your contribution to the science, what is your novelty, what is your originality. It's very difficult task to do when you just started to do your PhD studies and you have no idea where it will lead in 3 years' time. Just for you to understand how important to know the timeline of your research. Your research studies is 3 years. According to our current regulations in UK, the maximum duration of the studies, it must be 4 years. It means if you haven't completed your PhD within 4 years, you will not be allowed to be awarded a degree. As a result, there is a necessity to develop some techniques and some pedagogical methods which will help the students to start to do their research as quick as possible. In classical timeline, PhD is going to be completed and planned to be completed within 3 years. The first 6 months, it will take your literature review. In the last 6 months, it will take your dissertation, writing up. Writing up of dissertation is only to write your dissertation, provided all your experimental work, all your theoretical contribution to the science and anything has been finished within 2.5 years of your studies. As a result, your research duration, where you start to design your research methods and anything, takes 2 years. There is a need, very quickly as possible, to start to generate the literature review as early as possible, because this will bring you some maturity and understanding what is required to do in your research area and gives you flexibility. This course aims to provide you development of skills which will help you to reduce literature review work from 6 months to 3 months and providing skills of critical thinking, not inside of your research area, but understanding general understanding of your research area and future directions. As I mentioned previously, this work is very practical. It means listening only. It would not help you as much. That's why I would propose you, while you are listening to my lectures, you will do some practical work along the side of this. To be successful in this area, can you please select high-quality journal papers in your research area? First of all, you need to find the state-of-art review research paper in your research area. Preferably, it should be a recently published work. If you cannot find the one which you exists in your narrow research area where you're planning to work on. In addition to this, can you please select 3 research journal papers related to your work published in top journals? Basically, you need to find the best examples of papers written previously carried out in your work. We will be applying our philosophical aspects of research to these 4 papers. That's why it's extremely important that the quality of research papers chosen is published in the top journals. So we are learning from the best experience available in the world. In addition to this, start to think about your dissertation, about your PhD work, about your final year project or MC dissertation, or recently completed project. Let's start with some basics. What is research? If one of you are very fancy of internet, you would like to go to search for Wikipedia, which will provide you the following definition, that research is derived from the French recherche, which basically very closely meaning to the word chercher, and it means search. In other words, what does it mean? It means you investigate thoroughly from all sides, from all points of views, and when you provide the answer, you are very confident in the outcome of this answer. If we will look in the Chambers Dictionary, the definition of research is very close to this. It's the careful search, a systematic investigation towards increasing the sum of knowledge in particular field of interest. Again, we are speaking about thorough research, thorough investigation, which will lead the answer for one particular question. When we speak, we use the word research in everyday life. When, for example, someone will be asking you, what are you doing for the project? You will be proudly saying, I'm doing research, and in your topic area. So word research means quite a number of meanings, but what is includes in from practical point of view, it provides the basics of the grounds of research process, which you will be normally doing and going through when you will be doing research. First of all, as mentioned before, research is systematic process. You are looking on to find the answer on one particular problem, on one particular question of the interest. Research will include use of facts, use of theories, data analysis, sampling, doing an experiment, going to library to read something on the topic. Anything which help you to answer this question, it will be part of your research. To do research is to investigate the problem systematically and thoroughly. But what is most importantly, whatever you're doing, any type of research, the primary goal of you is to solve a problem and provide the answer to your question. When we start to do research, we're proudly saying that I've been looking for the literature review, I've been doing some implementation, I was running the survey. But what is important, there is one major skills in research, which basically all students usually use from their supervisors. It's very similar to the painter painting his picture. When we start to look on the painter painting the picture, what the painter does, he will be working on one piece of work, on one image, but on one picture. But what he will be doing, he will be stepping back, have a look how it's look, get closer, modify something, and step back. He will step back, have a look how his modifications goes inside of overall picture. He modifies something, he get back. Modify something back, go back. These skills, which is very clearly seen in Painter, researcher must have. In order to be successful researcher, you should be really good in working in very narrow area of your expertise, developing your algorithms, solving some small questions and inquiries, but at the same time, you should have a clear idea far away from your work how your particular work contributes to overall science. If you gain these skills, working and doing research at close-up and in wider area, you will have a valuable skills which will provide you very quick analysis on critical review of the papers as well as critical review of your own work. Let's have a look on close look. Close look could be looking on any of the papers. One piece of paper, research paper you found is normally one question research scientists are trying to answer looking on this paper. So in our case, when we start to look on in terms of research and closer look, any paper you choose to work on is going to be one piece of work you're going to look on closely. Basically, it will relate to Painter, stepping very closely to the picture and doing some small modifications. If you've done piece of work and you had a look how it works, what will be the next? You need to have a look how every single paper in your area, they fit together, how they blend together, how they influence one work into another one. And this would provide us view of a painter stepping back. Once you understand how each paper contributes, how your personal work you've done working on this particular paper and providing any influence, you could back closer to this work and understand its importance. Provide the novelty of your work, demonstrate your originality, and provide the proper answer on the question which is actual and necessary to look into. Before we start to work, one of the most important things in any project you start to work is to sort out terminology. We were looking in the term research. We understand what does it mean. When you start to open the papers, there are several techniques and technical words which are used to explain the research process. The most importantly and most commonly used is research methodology, research method, and research technique. There are slight difference between all this terminology, and you need to understand how methodology different from method and technique. Let's have a look from one by one. Research methodology is a study of research methods. It's always used as a singular applied to answering questions in your research area. It does not admit plural. It means we cannot say that I'm develop a lot of methodologies. Any papers you develop and work, they lie inside of one methodology. If we are going to look back, so all research papers combined together, they will provide only one research methodology, one with possible ways how to answer one particular question. Going back to the method. Method is a manner in which a particular project is undertaken. It's comprising of several techniques. When we are coming back to our definitions of research papers and research area where you're working on, one research paper usually will explain one research method, because one research paper will be answering only one particular research question. But looking in while we are trying to answer one particular question, you will have several techniques used before this. As a result, several research techniques can be used inside of a method. Research technique is a specific means, approach, or tool to use where data is gathered and analyzed and inferences are drawn. We just learned about the basics of terminology, research methodology, research method, research technique. By now, in front of you, you have 3 papers of research papers in your area, one state of art of paper, and you're thinking about your project. Can I just ask you to do the following? Open the first paper you like the most and have a look. Does your paper mention of any of this terminology, research methodology, method, and techniques? Can you find out maybe somebody in your paper is using plural inside of methodology, which will not be acceptable based on definition? Or can you have a look is definition of method or technique is used correctly? Once you start to look in the papers and just checking if the usage of this terminology is used correctly, you start to generate your own opinion in terms of a paper and using this terminology. When we start to look on the research structure, let's have a look how it works. Our research areas covered all different areas in terms of social sciences to engineering. One research methodology will include many research methods. Another research methodology will include another research methods. Appearance of research methodologies, it doesn't happen as often in research science and investigation rather than research methods. Shall I give you an example? In criminalistic, in forensic investigations, in 19th century, any definitions and identifications of criminals and suspects, it was used using a fingerprints. The major breakthrough, it started when DNA has been discovered and DNA has been applied for doing this. So we're speaking about introduction of new methodologies using DNA, which will be solving the same problem. Let's have a look at an example. Psychology. We have some ideas about psychology. There are some problems in terms of psychology. And it could be a lot of methods inside the psychology. For example, we could use one qualitative method for solving one particular problem. And in order to answer this method, only one question, we may use interviews, observations, and questionnaires. So we can combine several of techniques to implement only one method, to answer only one question. Let's have a look at another question. Cancer prediction is a very actual project. There are millions of people are affected by diagnosing the cancers. There is a lot of needs in doing research to diagnose cancer faster, cheaper, and more accurately. As a result, for one particular cancer, we can have a number of research methods proposed. One research method will be based on qualitative method 1. And in order to find the answer on one particular question, it's maybe using data collection, data validation, and some statistical analysis. Another researcher may propose alternative method to solving the same problem of cancer prediction, quantitative method 2. And in order to answer his research question in this area, he will be looking on completely different way to answer this, using combination of technique of neural network, statistical analysis, and fuzzy logic. Can we see from here, we may have only one question to answer, but we'll have completely different methods used, and each of a method can combine combination of completely different research techniques. Coming back to your work, remember we have research papers and your research project. You don't need to look into the papers in details. What is important for you is try to draw for us the scope of your research. Define every single method it's used. For example, you have 3 research papers. It will be 3 distinctive research methods answering different research questions. Each of these research methods will have completely different techniques. Specify these techniques. Visualize. If you're thinking about your project, your dissertation, do exactly the same, apply to your dissertation. Drawing the area of research and identifying research methods in visualizing will help you to understand how people previously tackling the problem and what methods they have been used. At the end of this exercise, I would like to see from you one research methodology solving your research question, but it will be at least 4 boxes based on your 4 research papers, plus one additional box, it's about your project, which you're about to complete or you completed previously. When we started to look at research, regardless and where you're doing research, in physical sciences, in engineering, in psychology, sociology, finance, business, all research in the world can be divided into 4 main parts: describe, predict, explain, and interpret. If you will have a look in our research, what does it mean describe? Describe, it's basically describes one particular event, one particular animal, new animal which we found, new behavior, new flower we found out. It could be description of algorithm. It could be description of a method on an object. Basically, the aim of this research will be answering any question starting from what is it? What is this flower? What is this animal? What is this tradition? If we can try to paraphrase the aim of your research paper, and it starts from word describe, it means you are doing descriptive research. Predict. We are using predictive research from daily life. Every single time we are planning to go out or travel somewhere, the first thing we will do, we will be looking on internet and trying to find out what will be weather forecast for the following 4-5 days, which will help us, for example, to pack our suitcase for our travel. This type of piece of application underline a large amount of work in predictive science. Any predictive science will be depends on casual study, and we will always answer one particular question: will. Any question you're trying to answer in research in this area, it will start: will the weather will be warm? Will the weather will be cold? Will the campaign change the proportion of voters who vote for a party or election? Any question started trying to answer and looking in the future in your research will lead to predictive research, to casual study. The next one is explain. Explain is looking into trying to explain phenomena, trying to understand what's going on and why it's going on. The most recent advances which get the research going upside down, especially in physical sciences, was discovery of Higgs boson. The Higgs boson has been explained using theory in 1916 last century, but practically it has been discovered only last couple of years. This type of research, which trying to explain phenomena, bring establishing correlations and postulating a causal mechanism, will bring us to, and trying to explain the events, will give us some emphasis on research, trying to explain the word why. Any research question we'll put in our research paper starting from word why will bring us to the explain research. Interpret. Interpret is slightly different from explain. It's looking for understanding or interpreting the reasons or intentions behind the individual actions. For example, someone is looking for a job. Why unemployability rate is going down, or why employability rate is going up? What are the causes of this bringing in? Have you noticed our research question? It will be still why, but there is a main difference. We are looking on causal relationships and trying to understand the reasoning behind. Let's have a look understanding the differences between our aims research. And let's start to look at this on the example of apple. We have an apple. We have flowers. From flowers over the summer, we'll harvest an apple. Our research could be about describing the process of growing apple from the flowers. In this particular case, my research is going to be describe the growing process of an apple. From another point of view, if I have an apple tree, I can formulate my question completely differently, and I can try to predict if apple will fall. Later on, everyone knows about Newton's story about falling apple. Thanks to Newton sitting under apple tree, an apple falling in his head, we started to understand why apples fall. Basically, Newton's law was discovering gravity. It was explaining the phenomena by establishing correlations and postulating a causal mechanism on how the apples falls. Later on, going based on discoveries of Newton, it has been interpreting the reasons on how the apple falls and influence of moon on this using Einstein theory. Can we see? We can have the same subject in our research, apple. But around the apple, we can put different type of questions. And these type of questions can lead to completely different type of research. The way how we answer these questions will provide us research processes which will help us to clearly say whatever my apple fall or not in the following months. Okay, we just learned with you that all our research processes, all our research which we are doing can be categorized in 4 distinctive areas, which is describe, predict, explain, and interpret. Knowing this, can I just ask you to go back to your research papers, to your project, paraphrase the aim of each research paper on the project, starting from the word describe, predict, explain, and interpret, and define type of research it has been used there. In conclusion, we just learned the basics of terminology used in philosophical aspects and research. We started to differentiate among research terminology in terms of research methodology, research methods, or research techniques. We started to understand the underpinning principles of research and started to differentiate between types of research as explain, interpret, describe, or predict. Moreover, what is important, what we learn, we started to apply these techniques to practical case studies, which are directly related to your narrow research area. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.